advertising film. I'm the last one alive.
I was a mild-mannered chemist. I formulated your toothpaste. Then they came, and everything changed for all of us. First, we sent out our bravest, most confident, most handsome diplomat to meet with them. It didn't go well. They call Earth Region 72. They want to capture us, enslave us, and take our planet. If we have anything to say about it, our region will remain free.
They're the best. They're the best.
Come on, man!
They released Monster O.
They're here already! You're next! You're next! You're next!
All right, take 2 of the Fog live commentary. But because we've had this snafu with the original Fog, we've decided to do the Fog 2005 remake instead. So we're going to be discussing that film tonight because let's face it, that is the better movie. So just a warning there. But yes, it is April 21st, the anniversary of the Antonio Bay massacre. And I don't know about you, but where I'm at right now, it's very foggy. So let's hope that's not a coincidence. This is, of course, a Patreon request. And our old buddy Captain Halloween is the gentleman who requested us to do this live commentary on the anniversary of the Antonio Bay, what would you call it, the tragedy. So thank you, Captain Halloween, Keith. Appreciate that. If you guys out there watching would like to throw some suggestions our way as far as show topics or live commentaries, anything to that effect, follow the link in the description and join our Patreon today. All right, so without further ado, let's bring on tonight's panel. Joining me tonight from the Flesh Wound Features YouTube channel, Dan, what's going on, man?
What's going on? Nothing much. I'm just looking at like the 6 people who are still in that original chat. Probably getting really angry about now, but yeah, not as angry. If we were watching the remake, I'd rather be in that chat, just staring into the void. So I don't feel too bad.
There you go. So yeah, hopefully they'll come over. I think we informed them of the of the change, so hopefully they'll
all 3 of them now. So
okay,
yeah.
Slowly they're making their way over. So very cool. Actually, Cobra Hawk says he's going back to the other stream. He just wants to stare into that void. So
stare away.
Look, I mean, Tom Welling or Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, Tom Welling or Tom Atkins. I mean, come on, Welling all day, right? Anyway, good to see you tonight, Dan.
Good to see you too.
Also joining me tonight, the Professor, B-Movie Mike. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I was gonna say, if you're actually gonna watch the remake, I'll just watch the original along with you and pretend that I'm watching the remake because I've never seen it and I never will. But you do you.
Actually, to be perfectly honest, I've never seen it either.
Yeah,
I don't think I've missed anything. So, but that's just one I decided to not subject myself to. So
that one and the Prom Night remake, I have not seen either one.
I saw the Prom Night remake. I can, with 100% sincerity, tell you you've dodged a bullet. You're better off for having missed it. Trust me.
It's good to know a few of my decisions have worked out for me.
That was a very good decision, Mike. Very good. But good to see you, Mike. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you, sir.
Also joining me tonight, Lorne, maybe still. I don't know. Are you still Lorne?
I feel like I know him, but not always.
Okay.
Hey, it's been a while.
It's been a couple of weeks. Yeah, we took a little break to, harness our chi, to center ourselves, So, and now we're back.
Is the chi caffeinated? Because that's the only thing that matters here.
Of course. Okay. Highly caffeinated, yes.
So I started a energy drink company and threw a lot of people through windows in the last couple of weeks, and he's good to go.
Yeah, that's true.
As you do.
How are you, Lauren?
I'm tired. Is what I am. I've been tired for months. But life continues to evolve, and so I will have a little bit more time to breathe in the nearest future. So maybe you'll see more of me.
Cool. I've been meaning to ask you. I was going to ask you this off the air, but I'll just, since I've got you here, that convention that we all met up at last year, are they planning on doing another one of those anytime soon?
I believe so. I don't necessarily have any plans to go this year, but I'll check on it and I'll get you the information. Definitely.
Oh, okay, cool.
I feel like they have a real headliner this year. They did last year too, but I feel like there's more attendance this year.
Okay, cool.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Go ahead, Lauren.
No, I was just going to say, this is actually my favorite John Carpenter film. So it's a good place for me to rejoin the pack.
You know what's interesting about The Fog is, for a long time, it seemed like The Fog was kind of like the lost John Carpenter movie. It was that, everybody talked about Halloween, everybody talked about The Thing, Escape from New York, there's so many great movies in his catalog. It kind of seemed like The Fog was the one that got lost in the shuffle. But
even back in the day, it wasn't as revered as his other films. It just kind of came out and people were like, "Oh, that's okay." I mean, they weren't like crazy about it, but it did become, more than what it was later on. Well, definitely, for me, it's in the top 4 or 5, but I enjoy it. It's a good ghost story.
It sits between Halloween and The Thing. That's not an enviable place to be.
No.
But I actually think that the movie has more going for it than either of those films. So we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll talk about it for sure. Also joining me tonight, all the way from New York City, Stone Gasman. How's it going, Stone?
I'm doing great, guys. Yeah, I just finished a long work week, and I'm going to be seeing Robert Eggers' The Northman right after this commentary tonight. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I just got my ticket yesterday. I'm going to go to the Alamo and check out this Viking epic that was probably inspired by Conan the Barbarian in every single second. So I'm looking forward to that.
Does it come out this weekend? Is it this weekend that it premieres?
Today.
Okay.
It comes out, tonight, and tomorrow will be, wide.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. It looks good.
Oh, yeah. And just to let everybody know that I haven't seen The Fog since high school, and I was going to watch it yesterday, but I got caught up in a fog, you could say. So this is going to be in my eyes, this is going to be a new look at a film that I know I saw before, but I need to do a reassessment on it. And with Lauren's commentary, it's gonna be awesome, I think.
But yeah.
I don't know. I think we need Mike to get out his guitar and do the opening riff. That's what I think we need.
I'm waiting for Lauren to psychoanalyze The Fog.
Yes.
Try to figure out its true intentions, whether or not it's malevolent or it's being used by the there's maybe some childhood trauma. We don't know. We're going to find out though, and I can't wait.
We'll find out soon. So we'll give everybody a little bit to queue up their own copy of The Fog. If you're going to watch along with us, The Fog is available on Shudder. If you're a Shudder subscriber, you can rent it on Amazon Prime for I think $2.99, $3.99. And honestly, I mean, who doesn't own The Fog on some physical media? So, but we'll give you guys a few minutes to get everything situated so you can watch along with us. While we do that, have you guys seen any good movies lately? We've had 2 weeks off. Any good flicks you've seen?
The Sadness. If you want, and I know you saw it too. If you want extreme horror, it's a Taiwanese infection film. They're not zombies. It's essentially, if you're familiar with Garth Ennis, his graphic novel series Cross, it just basically turns everybody into evil, sadistic SOBs, essentially, who like to murder, maim, assault, and dismember anything that they cross paths with. So it's lively, it's wild, and yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And they really seem to be enjoying themselves while they're doing all those bad things.
Yes.
They're really liking it. So, yeah.
They are enjoying it quite a bit.
Yes. And I would also, I reviewed The Sadness yesterday. So if you missed that review on my channel, check it out. But I recommend it too. It's not going to be for everybody, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised when it does premiere on Shudder that there's not a big trigger warning screen at the beginning of it. So if you do want to watch it, just be warned. There's some extreme stuff going on in there that some people might find objectionable or shocking or, what have you.
Yes.
So
does it ever seem to be gratuitous and unnecessary? Because, I don't mind extremity, extreme things in film, as long as it's not like, we don't have a plot, so we're just going to throw crap at the screen. It's like, you see that shot of guts? That guy's getting anally invaded. I mean, we don't have a story, but enjoy that. You know what I mean? Because I'm not into that. I'm into like if it has a good story and that just happens to be part of the story. Well, that's different.
It's definitely part of the story. But I mean, it's definitely it's very wet. It's very wet. It's very gory. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily. Well, it's part. I mean, it's part of the story. It really is. So
it's a familiar story, but yeah, an American studio couldn't do half of what they did in this film. So
oh no.
I saw Pizzaw's review, and from what he said, I don't I don't see anybody in America making a movie like that.
No,
not right now in this climate.
It was actually funded by the filmmaker's cam girl business. So, good, wholesome film all around.
Makes perfect sense then. Now it all comes together.
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's pretty interesting.
Pretty sure some of them are in the movies. So
yes, I would. Yeah.
The only thing that kind of like made me not want to see it was the fact that it's like 28 days later, but with coronavirus type thing, with the pandemic and all that kind of political. I'm really not too soon. I'm not ready to start watching movies about that topic. I just lived through it, So give me some time. Maybe 5 years down the line, I might be ready to revisit that kind of material.
Yeah.
They don't take that part of it too seriously. That's kind of the comedic elements of the film, is them poking fun at, like the government's, the whatever, the president of Taiwan or whatever is just an idiot, and the government completely screwed up, and they've lied to everyone, and they mishandled everything, and
I'd rather have just gone through sitting on the couch, getting fat, eating Cool Ranch than what they went through in the sadness. So I'm going to say they had it worse.
Yeah. But it's definitely worth watching when it. I know it's going to be on Shudder very soon. I know Raven Banner is releasing a Blu-ray also. I think sometime. I was going to say this month, but this month's almost over, so maybe next month.
May is Shudder. There's a 4K out right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had just talked about how long before all the pandemic movies start popping out, and well, they're starting to pop. But how many are there going to be, and is it going to become like tedious to the point where you just like read the word pandemic and in the eyes roll? Not interested.
I would definitely. The sadness would be the one I would. I'm going to say the sadness is going to be the most extreme of the bunch, and would be at the top of my list.
So if you're going to watch a pandemic film, the sadness is
the sadness.
You heard it here.
You heard it here. Yes, you heard it here. So has anybody else seen the sadness besides me and Dan? No,
not yet.
Okay. It's good.
Although I do have to object because Zombie Ready is the pandemic zombie film to go for.
That is true.
With a whole lot less. Well, I can't use any words to describe what I want to describe in the sadness because I know too much about the movie and having not seen it. But it might be not appropriate for the genders study courses at your local community college.
No.
Laundry Art dropping a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Piz, a taco truck is coming to town tomorrow. Unfortunately, I live in a state where tortillas are considered exotic. Should I still go? Let me answer this in Jeremy speak. Yes. That's an emphatic yes. Okay. You hear tacos, the answer is yes.
Do you know how much it freaks me out that there's an announcement that a food truck is coming to town? Like that would never happen here. They just show up, you know.
They do that in a town near me with Chick-fil-A. When there's like a Chick-fil-A truck that will come to actually a couple of towns near me that don't have a Chick-fil-A in them, and people freaking bombard that thing, man.
So I wonder how that works because like I'm thinking like how much peanut oil can you have, fresh peanut oil can you have in one of those trucks?
Those trucks really aren't that big,
Yeah.
So I mean, I would imagine a lot of there's some peanut oil there.
I feel like that's like bootleg Chick-fil-A.
It tastes just like the real thing. It tastes just like the real thing. But thank you, Laundry Art. Appreciate that. Has anybody seen anything else worth mentioning before we dive into the fog?
I watched Night's End, which actually was another Zoom movie, much like Host, that was shot during the pandemic. That was amusing. In terms of really, really good stuff, I'm just very excited to see that new Nick Cage movie and The Northman. Got Duel. And one that people may not be aware. For any of you who've watched the trailer for Hatching, the Finnish horror film, really good trailer. AMC does have a theatrical screening of that a week from today, I believe. I believe it's a week. It could be 2 weeks. I have to double check, but I believe it's a week. So if you want to see that in the theater, go check it out. I haven't confirmed for sure if it's an AMC exclusive or not, but I haven't seen anybody else say that they've got it through Regal or anything yet. So check it out if you can.
Yeah.
Dave is saying that he watched Cemetery of Terror last night. I love that movie.
Oh yeah, that is good. Yeah.
Unbelievably great film.
So is that the movie that got released by Vinegar Syndrome not long ago?
Yeah, they released the director's pretty much entire filmography at the same time.
Yeah,
it's the same guy who did Don't Panic, right?
Yeah, but it's not cheese like Don't Panic. It's not cheese, but it's a lot. It's more competent of a film period.
So less cheesy.
Yeah, it looks like a Fulci film, but feels at times like a like Monster Squad type adventure, and at other times like an 80s slasher. It's It's kind of wonderfully all over the place, but it looks the look of the film is gorgeous.
Very cool. Yeah, I actually own it. I've not watched it yet, but I know that the Don't Panic guy did it, and so it's been on my list to watch because I mean I love Don't Panic. So
that's a good time.
Has anybody ordered the Tombs of the Blind Dead Synapse release?
I have to wait until next month, but I'm going to. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. So, yeah, they've got me over the barrel with that one.
Mine's on the way. Yep, mine's on the way. So
not at that price point.
And here's the thing, though. Wait a year, they'll have a standard. It may not even be a year. They'll do a standard. I don't care what Don at Synapse says. They'll do a standard. So
they will.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the price point?
It's like 50. What? Oh gosh, I don't even remember how much did I pay for mine. Let me look it up here. I want to say it was bare minimum $50, maybe more than that.
I think it's more than that.
More.
I got it from Diabolic. Let me see. If I can find it.
I haven't actually looked because I'm not ready to buy, but somebody told me 80, which sounded high.
I don't think I paid 80 for it now.
Okay.
I don't think I dropped 80 for it.
I heard that. I slapped my forehead and I was like, all right, I'm going to do it next month because it's Tombs of the Blind Dead.
Oh, well, you can get it on, Diabolic had it for $47.99.
Oh, okay.
And it says it's still in stock. So that's where because I was like, I know I didn't pay.
That's still just outrageous.
Yeah.
Let's not talk us into thinking that's a good price.
I think it's a great price. Buy it now.
It's like when somebody says gas is down to $3.89. Isn't that great?
Exactly.
No, it's not great. It still sucks.
Somebody said that to me the other day, and I was like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Ooh, let me go fill up." But yeah, so it's Tombs of the Blind Dead, Lauren. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but you could pretty much get the box set of all 4 films on DVD for the same price.
Listen, DVD, really? It's not 1998 anymore, Lauren.
In a couple of years, it's probably gonna be your only choice anyway. So that's not
DVD is re-winning. It's the Charlie Sheen of formats.
In a big way.
It's ridiculous. 4K forever. Okay,
4K
just deal with it.
Doesn't have a year in it.
And then wait until next year when 8K launches. Forget about it.
It's not going to happen.
What's the limit of resolution of the human eye? I forget what it is, but we're about to achieve it. At what point does it become ridiculous?
I want to see like 64K.
Well, you can't.
That's where I want it to go.
That's greater than reality.
Yeah, you're gonna have some bionic implants put in there or something.
I would love that.
The $6 million Piz.
Yeah, I want the Synapse Ocular 64K implants. Yeah.
My understanding, I had this argument with Todd, who's more tech savvy than me, is like if you got like an 8K, you probably reached about the point where there's no more upgrades.
It's really more about eye strain. Like if you watch a 2-minute clip in 8K, you're going to notice a huge difference between 4K and 8K. But in a half hour, you will not physically be able to tell the difference. Our eyes are just not trained to stare at an image for that long and be able to decipher that much difference. The eye strain just gets too much. And there's actually little test programs you could run to actually see that happen to you if you'd like. Don't get me wrong. I love the idea of 4K. It's just not picky. It's just not happening. It's not converting over the masses. So I just want I just care about the movies. I want to future proof myself. That's where I'm at. And I don't want to pay exorbitant prices that we shouldn't have to pay just because people are feigning scarcity, which is in the world we live in is just such a bad business model. It just is. Everything is available whether they like it or not. So charging exorbitant for it, you're just cutting down the number of people who will buy it. And I thought we wanted to make the genre, the collecting of films more popular, not less.
Well, I think I think these releases, like, these Synapse Steelbook limited edition, 3 discs, whatever. I mean, those are like for your hardcore collectors. Because they're going to do the limited. They've always, I think the only one they didn't do a limited edition of, or I'm sorry, a standard edition of was like, what was the one that took place at the school?
Massacre at Central High.
That's the only one I don't think they've done a standard release for.
I don't think it's sold out yet. That's the thing. I think you can still get it. So yeah, they probably will on that too.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you don't want to drop the big bucks, I mean, that's cool. Just hold out for the standard because it's going to happen.
Well, I will, simply because I can buy like 3 movies for the price of that one, and I do own Tomb of the Blind Dead. I own all 4 of the films, and I'm sorry, with a good upconverting television, DVD is watchable.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I'm just not going to be such a snob that unless it's the top quality, it's not worth owning. It's just not. I'm not going to spend. I'm not going to support a system that is gouging, first off, but I'm not going to spend that money personally for single titles. When they announced
The Kindred.
The Kindred, that's one of my big go-to titles. I did not buy it because I love it. It's not worth that money.
I've noticed that not every film benefits from the 4K treatment. Some of the older films I prefer to watch on older formats, like because the nostalgia factor is renting the VHS, right? But if you clean it up too much, then it becomes something different than what it was when you first encountered it, and it's almost like, well, that's not really the movie that I really love. That's like a polished up version, but it's supposed to have dirt on it. Well, I'm going to use what was it, Halloween 6 as an example. It's not a great example, but it's one I can think of. When the kid's in his room and the guys in his room, kill for me, Danny. And like on the DVD, it's like darkness that he's staring into as he's hearing the voice. But on the Blu-ray, it's like you could see him standing there. And it's like stranger danger. There's a freaking pedophile in his kid's room. It's not scary. Well, on the level that they were trying to be scary on. It's like, is this guy going to try to molest this kid or what? I mean, there's an obvious guy standing in a black coat in the corner. You can see his eyes. He's like, kill for me, Danny. It's like, kind of ruins the whole scene. And that happens a lot in the older films when they try to clean them up too much.
Well, and when the lightning flashes, you can see that it's the dude. You can see that.
Yeah,
it's
you can see that's the actor. Yeah, Win or whatever. You automatically spoils the entire thing. It's like, wow.
Yeah, it's like there's like Edge of the Axe and like Sleepaway Camp, like when they clean those up, and it's like you're seeing almost too much. Like you're seeing more than the filmmakers had intended you to see. Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
when they designed those effects, they designed them for film lighting, not for video. So like you watch Friday the 13th in a really high resolution, and you can see the different color of the skin patches and where the seams are, and that kind of takes away from it for me. But if people like it, go for it. But I'm just like I'm kind of good with some of the older formats, depending on the film.
I feel like the companies now are just like that cable company episode of South Park where there's like, well, we have 3 limited edition slipcovers for this, and then they're just tweaking their nipples, just laughing at our frustration. But I'm
the one tweaking my nipples when you start talking about slipcases. I'm just, oh God, I love slipcases.
We're about to turn this stream into a snuff film, I believe.
Uh-oh.
So again, one sent to me so I could do this. I do not own this film. I'll make that very clear. But here we go.
My best friend's girl.
There we go.
That would be the most random movie for you to own, I think.
I think that's the last of the donated ones because I think I've gone through all of them at this point. There was a stack at some point, but. Now, I just, I want to get back to the days when people loved movies and the companies wanted to provide us with the movies if we wanted physical. That's not how I feel anymore. Now all the energy seems to be like, what can we get out of people? What bells and whistles can we throw at people to make them spend a ridiculous amount of money? I mean, we're not talking about like $5 extra and you got your behind the scenes making of featurette or whatever. We're talking now about doubling and in some cases close to tripling the price and just pretending that's about scarcity. Oh, we're only making this many of it.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Or I'm going to put it in a steel case, which makes no sense to me. We're just paying for packaging. I mean, who does that? Would you do that in anything else in life? Would you pay for the packaging? Would you pay more for limited edition Reese's Pieces packaging?
If it had a slipcase.
There you go.
So if it had some special features with it, how they made the Reese cup, sure.
Slash home video. Here's the thing. In no way am I a Dane Cook fan. However, he was in detention, and that makes him royalty on some level. Because that movie is brilliant.
I appreciate all the extra work that these outside companies go to produce all the added bonus features. They do a really good job, but man, those price tags, bro. It's like we were talking, I don't know when it was, 2013 or 14, about what we thought the future of media would be. And we nobody got it right as far as the death of physical media, but I think we did hit on something when it would transition to one of these collector's edition only type things where the releases would become normally $50 or plus with all the extra trappings just to try to make extra money off of, the collectors. When the mainstream market goes full streaming, they'll just gouge, guys like us, the people like us that like to collect stuff.
Yeah.
So, normally we could buy a really nice, you look at some of the releases on DVD from 2002, like Spider-Man 2, there's all kinds of extra content on there. And it was the same price as every other DVD in the rack. That used to be like value added content to get you to buy their movie over somebody else's movie. But now they charge you like ungodly amounts of money to get the same extra content that you used to get for the regular price. So now it's like, now they're in competition not to have the best sales, but to make the most money by gouging people. They're willing to pay it. And I just refuse. I mean, I love these movies and stuff, but $50 to $70, $80 for a single, just because it has, I don't know, some stuff in it. It's like, no, I just want the movie. Just give me a good quality copy of the flick, and I'm happy, and at a good price. I mean, because that's really how the market's supposed to work anyway. But hey, you go ahead and you put your big stuff out there, and if you make money with it, yeah, it's good for you. But that's not how I would do it if I had a choice.
Well, let me put it into perspective. I own The Fog on DVD, on Blu-ray, and on 4K, but I'm watching it on Shudder for this live commentary. So,
well, streaming for this is just easy because you could have two windows open, and you don't have to worry about your TV and the camera's not on the TV with all the copyright crap. We'll have to worry about audio bleed. So yeah, for us, for this purpose, streaming is awesome. It has its use. I mean, I don't hate streaming. It's convenient. But, so the films that I really, really love, I want to have on a physical copy in case something happens in with streaming rights, the way things are, a lot of these companies only have the films for a short period of time and then they disappear for a while.
Yeah.
And watch it.
I wonder how long Shudder will have the sadness before they go, well, we need to start cutting some stuff out of this.
There's gonna be some complaints, so brace yourself. How long do you think?
So far, Shudder seems pretty immune to that stuff, though. They seem pretty cool, pretty
They weathered the storm when they had Cannibal Holocaust, which they did get a lot of bitching and moaning over that. So they'll keep it up.
Just don't watch it. You know what's in it. If you don't want to, you know what's in it. You don't want to watch it. Don't watch it. Don't.
But here's that the censor mindset is not about your comfort. It's about projecting onto the world.
I know.
So, yeah, I mean, you're being way too logical about that.
Yeah, it's about control.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if it doesn't look good, don't click on it. It works for me. Should work for everybody. It's just common sense, right? I mean, I had Netflix at one time. I haven't had it for a long time. But even when I was on there, I still had a watch list of stuff I never watched. I couldn't get around to watching the stuff I wanted to watch. So the stuff I didn't want to watch, it didn't even faze me. It wasn't even in my, my view. So I don't, unless you're searching for things to be upset about, which if you are, you'll find it. And congratulations. I hope you're happy.
They just got to appease the masses with those exclusive digital slipcovers next.
That's true.
It's so stupid it might happen.
I can't wait for less or more offended by that.
I can't wait for the NFT slipcovers. Those I want those. Give me some NFT stickers.
Lauren's developing a program in his mind right now that will be able to rip digital slipcovers. I can see it.
Exactly.
The wheels are turning.
He'll 3D print them and then rip them.
Download Rip the Slip now.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and let's get the ball rolling here on the fog. And I'm gonna depending on what copy. If you're watching on Shudder, your intro is going to be the Studio Canal intro. If you're watching on a Blu-ray, an American Blu-ray, it's going to be the Avco Embassy. So there's going to be a slight difference as far as time frame. It shouldn't be that big of an issue, though. I don't think so. But I'm going to count down from 5. And then we'll get the ball rolling. We are at the very beginning of the film, 0.00. So here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Play. Yeah.
Antonio Bay. Has anybody ever met Adrienne Barbeau at a convention?
Yeah,
I have. Yeah.
How was she?
She's cool.
Yeah,
Was
she's
she?
fun. She seemed amazed that I actually liked the convent. She did not understand, and she questioned me about it for about 5 minutes, but it was a fun conversation.
That's funny. That's funny.
So this thing starts with a Poe quote, which is really such a weird thing to me because there's so many authors that are much more clearly in inspiration than Poe. Poe isn't particularly renowned for his supernaturalism. This is a film that feels a lot like Lovecraft. It feels a lot like Pierce. It feels a lot like Blackwood. It does not feel like Poe.
It was always strange to me too. I figured they would go with Lovecraft, particularly as I got older and realized this is not Poe at all.
No. Carpenter was of that age that he was probably one of those 60s college students that discovered Lovecraft, and you can see the influence here. Even though he more obviously tried to evoke Lovecraft in name only with In the Mouth of Madness, this is the one that actually feels like Lovecraft. That thing feels like some kind of weird King adaptation that, kind of just name checks Lovecraft.
It's interesting because not a lot of people know this, but it is at least partially inspired by a film called The Trollenberg Terror from 1958, which has these sort of tentacled creatures coming out of the mist in the Swiss mountains. I have not rewatched that in a long time, and I was thinking about doing it before this show.
I never noticed that the Lonnie Get Your Ass Away From There kid is actually in the crowd of kids listening to the ghost story. Sure looks like him.
That does look like him, doesn't it? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's Lonnie Elam, yeah.
I love having this framing element here because it makes the film so much more lyrical than if it wasn't here.
Yeah.
And it sets up that we're not watching Halloween. We're not watching a straight ahead hard reality horror film. We're watching something with a little bit more poetry in it.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if this was because I know Carpenter did some reshoots on The Fog because he did a cut that he thought wasn't very scary. And then he said he went back and he reshot some stuff. So I wonder if this was in the movie original or part of the script originally, or if it was reshot or what.
I believe this was reshot. Most of the gore was. Scanners was one of the reasons, because Scanners had come out and it's like the gore and everything. And I believe it was Scanners, but just the general boom of gory effects at the time, they felt that they needed to add a little bit of that. It always blows my mind that Carpenter has never been particularly fond of the movie. Neither's Jamie Lee Curtis, and I watch it and I do not understand whatsoever. I think it's a fantastic film.
So Carpenter's not a fan of The Fog himself.
I don't think Carpenter's a fan of anything. He's just shut up, nerds. I just want to play my video games.
Yeah. So tell us about the lyricism here in the opening, John. The fuck you talking about?
It was a gig.
Yeah.
Piss off.
Well, true. The other thing is, a lot of the best directors are actually great managers. They hire the right people for the right appointments and the right categories in their film, and they trust those people. So the art department people could go and do their job, and if you're a great manager, you get the best work out of them. And Carpenter at his height definitely was one of those guys. Your Dean Cundleys and your Alan Howarths, and you're hiring the right people to build the film for you. Whereas we tend to, as film fans, give all the credit to the director, like in a more immediate fashion, which is a little unfair to all the great talent, right? But I think that the thing about this film right now, as we're going through the town, we're kind of just like the cameras is showing you all the settings that we're going to go through. It's like the back end of Halloween, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas the evil is still there is the point in Halloween. Whereas here, we're kind of ominously setting up the same way. And we're starting to get this, it's not, early century. It's not mid 17th century, but it feels almost like it. Intentionally, we're seeing candlelight and rock walls. We're seeing, like, even the dress of the characters doesn't really look like 1980. It's kind of ambiguous. So it feels older. It feels like it could have been a period film very, very easily. And I think that's really important for a ghost story, to be honest with you. I think that really modern looking ghost stories don't work.
I agree 100%. It's just hard to get that mood when you've got cell phones and, all these devices. I'm pro period piece when it comes to my ghost stories now.
Even something like The Ring, where Ringo, the original Japanese film, it was important that they use older technology, a technology that was kind of already on the wane, to make it feel a little out of time. Because you need ghost stories need to be set in the past. If they're completely contemporary, there's just something off-putting about it.
Griff mentions the Dennis Etchison novelization in the chat. If you could get your hands on that novelization, it's not cheap if you can find it listed on like eBay or something like that.
Man,
but
I actually had a copy of that back in the day when the movie came out. It's like all the things you have when you're young and you don't appreciate, because you have no idea that these things are going to be valuable. You try to talk to people about The Fog, and back then it's like, huh, what? The what? You watch some weird stuff, man. So, well, you want to read the novelization? No, I don't even want to see the movie. Get away from me. You're weird.
And so, ultimately, James Herbert actually ended up benefiting from this movie, because a lot of people bought his novel thinking it was the basis of the film. And it's a great novel. It's great, but it's a completely different thing. It's a much harder edged. Yeah, there we go.
It's too bad he doesn't read what's in the diary farther, or because that was the book that Sean Clark now has, and that radio he dropped when the rock fell. Yeah, he's in possession of those two items, and what's really written in the journal is actually quite funny. I won't spoil it. Go watch his video.
I really do love, like, again, we're still creeping through town, but and things will get increasingly bizarre in the idea that it's not really the fog that brings the evil. The evil's already here. The fog's just going to manifest it. But something's already wrong throughout this town, and you're about to get gas stations that are affected and whatnot. But I love the idea of a cursed town. This is a movie about a haunted town because it was built on a foundation of murder and theft. Love it.
Yeah.
See, this to me is what horror films should be doing. This is it.
People complained that, like Siskel and Ebert, that it was too slow, didn't have the scares, but that was the whole point. It was a slow build, like these phones ringing. Nobody knows why. All the phones start going crazy. There's little things throughout the film as it ramps up toward the end, and I think it handles it very well. The fog's not scary. Well, it's just the fear of the dark, the unknown. It represents, the fog itself isn't bad, but what's in the fog? Because I don't know. I can't see it. It's the fear of the dark type of thing. And it just so happens that revenge is in the fog, for something that these people don't even realize happened 100 years ago. So, yeah, I think it's a great story. Well played out, good actors. But I've said it's not with Halloween and the Thing and Escape from New York, it's really hard to kind of break into that top tier for me. But The Fog is right there as far as classic Carpenter goes. It's definitely one of his films he made during his peak. I'd consider his peak for me to be from like maybe Halloween to Prince of Darkness. For me personally, I mean, there's a lot of films in that span that are my favorite John Carpenter movies.
It's a hard discussion. I mean, there's a few, it's hard to rank them against each other. But if you ask me today, or certainly the last several years, if I'd rather watch The Fog or Halloween, I'm usually going to go The Fog. But yeah, I mean, The Thing is kind of my go-to answer, but man, every time I rewatch The Fog, it's pretty close to perfect.
Well, for me, The Fog benefits from not having seen it as many times as Halloween.
Yeah.
So I've got Halloween memorized, all the cues, all the whole thing. I could almost do a Rocky Horror Picture Show with it and say everybody's lines, right? I've seen it so many times. The Fog, not so much. So yeah, I can definitely agree. If I was going to think, The Fog to me, you can watch anytime. I mean, it's great that we're watching it on April 21st because that's the date in the film.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. So you got yourself a nice little spring horror flick here to kind of gap between Christmas and Halloween.
Well, we were talking about this before we went live, or I brought this up before we went live. It seems like to me that The Fog was kind of Carpenter's, maybe not lost movie, but maybe the one that was least talked about, especially during, the I guess if you want to call them the golden years of Carpenter, because it was wedged between Halloween, which is of course Halloween, and The Thing, which is now considered just an absolute classic. But also you've got Escape from New York in there, you've got They Live in there, you've got, Christine, so many incredible movies. But it seemed like The Fog was the one that kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. But yeah, as the years have gone on, I mean, I've heard from I don't know how many people who say that The Fog is their favorite John Carpenter movie now. So, and maybe that is because, I mean, like you were saying, Dan, how many times have we all seen Halloween? How many times have we all seen The Thing? How many times have we all seen Escape from New York? Maybe it's because we've not seen The Fog enough, or that we don't know it every beat by beat. That might be part of it.
I actually think that there's a really practical reason that we don't rewatch this film as much. So all those films that we associate with Carpenter normally are all single character driven films, and The Fog is an ensemble.
Yeah.
And what that does to you as a viewer is that, especially as a modern viewer, because there's not as much ensemble work out there as there used to be. Most films now are, this is your central character, this is your viewpoint character, we're going to follow that character. This film doesn't give you the easy ride in. It doesn't give you the character to latch onto. You're going to pick your favorite characters out of the bunch, of course. But I think it's a more ambitious film. I don't think it's as streamlined, but to me, that's a good thing. I think horror works best, as Mike said, when it's dealing with the unknown. And what Lovecraft said about it is that the true fears of mankind are the dark, coldness, and wetness. And this film does all three of them.
Yeah.
So I think it perfectly hits what I want from a horror movie. Now, I might be a little ahead of you guys. I'm not sure because it looks like it. I am in the chat, but we just got to Jamie Lee Curtis hitchhiking.
Yeah,
He's picking her up right now. Yeah,
this is an urban legend, right here. Absolutely, this is the ghost hitchhiker just put on screen. Now she doesn't have to be that, but it feels like it could after all the spooky events we just watched. So the movie's building its mood, its atmosphere. It's using all those social cues of those stories that we all know. And I almost am sad that something like after Prince of Darkness, which is not a film I particularly love, but certainly after that, John Carpenter never went back to that kind of subtlety at all again that you see in The Fog. His work became very surface level. It might have still been good for people, but if you look at
Escape from LA,
Ghost of Mars, or even his Children of the Damned.
Yeah,
his Village of the Damned. Sorry, the first he remade the first film. They don't have the kind of depth, and they're not as ambitious about storytelling as this. They're just not.
I always thought it was a little unrealistic that Tom Atkins didn't have sex with any of the ghosts personally. But
I was going to say the trump card just came on screen. I mean, look at it. He's fresh shaven and he's ready to mac. He's on the hunt. And he's already got himself a catch. Look at that.
Oh yeah,
he's the man.
And let me tell you,
his car and chicks appear. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And let me tell you, she just took that beer, open beer, and was just like, "Sure, I'll drink it."
Well, it was 1980.
True. People were a little more independent-minded back then.
Cop pulls him over. He just winks at him and he lets him go.
Sorry, Mr. Atkins. Have a great night.
Yeah, my apologies.
Can I have your autograph before I go? One thing I think is really crazy about this movie too is that, to me, this and Fulci's City of the Living Dead are shockingly close thematically and in terms of what they look like. They could be like sister stories. They really could be. One of them has a revenge plot and the other doesn't, but man, they kind of are perfect bookends to each other.
Great double feature. That's a good night at the movies.
That is, that would be. Let's talk about Adrienne Barbeau for a minute. My God, ay caramba, what a woman! What a woman!
I'm not the hugest fan. I do like her in some films like this one and Escape from New York and Swamp Thing. And I think she was maybe in one more that I saw that I really enjoyed. But I think, to me, this is my favorite of her performances in The Fog.
She's very good. It's interesting because she was, a lot of horror crushes, but she's not the same lead that you would see now. Not that she's a lead in this movie, but definitely a kind of a change. Certainly a lot more talented than I think a lot of people that would be put in this role now, but yeah.
She's one of the few to have worked with most of the generation of horror big names too. Carpenter, Craven, Romero. Yeah, I mean, she definitely made the rounds with the 80s stalwart horror directors. So
yeah, and we said this is an ensemble piece. For me, what makes that even better is that it uses, Carpenter works with a lot of the same actors on every project. Yeah. Like a couple of these, say the guy at the forefront, Buck Flowers. He's in a bunch of stuff, right? And we just saw Charles Cypress, who was he was in Halloween and a couple other of John Carpenter's films. So yeah, we're getting an ensemble piece of Carpenter actors.
Yeah.
It's just, so that makes it already feels like a family if you're familiar with a lot of his movies. So it's like, oh, you're already familiar with these people. And then the fact that they all get equal time as characters, that for a Carpenter fan, that definitely sets this film apart.
Yeah.
I always, go ahead, Biz.
I was just going to say, what a career Buck Flower had. I mean, my God, he was in like everything. I mean, my God, what a career.
And he could steal the show with like 3 minutes of screen time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
What an iconic character actor.
Yeah.
I mean, he has literally been in porn and he's done it all. He's amazing.
Wow. Remember in Back to the Future? Crazy drunk driver. I was going to say this is the second film in which Jamie Lee Curtis played a teenage hitchhiker, because she was also in Richard Franklin's Road Games. She was in it for like 20 minutes, but she's a teenage hitchhiker in the middle of the outback.
Yeah,
picked up this time by Stacy Keach, right?
Stacey
Yeah, she
Keach, that's right. Yeah.
probably prefers Tom Atkins picking her up, but you know,
Who
The
wouldn't?
Keach-
I mean, come on.
Keach got some game too, though. Keach got some game too.
Yeah.
Keith representing for the big dudes like myself, but he's got game too. It's actually funny because after Halloween, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis did like Love Boat with their mom. I mean, and Charlie's Angels. I think it wasn't until The Fog that the career kind of really took off because Halloween wasn't immediately considered a success. In fact, as most of you know, Carpenter initially thought he made a bomb.
Yeah.
So
But didn't she do like Prom Night, The Fog, and Terror
Terror
Train
Train.
like all in the same year?
So
right after this, yeah.
what the big problem Jamie Lee Curtis had was not being typecast as horror. It was being typecast as the same character. Everyone was kind of a Laurie Strode clone to some degree.
Definitely.
Even here, she's not that different, but it was just no one knew what she could do, so she kind of got the same role over and over and over. And
I wonder. Go ahead.
well, no, and I mean, there's only so much people can do from that. I mean, later on, True Lies and all that would make her into something different. But
She made a few movies as she was trying to transition after Trading Places, like one where she played a female cop. I can't remember the name of that one. And then it was like some
Blue
romance
Steel.
thing where she played a character that had an affair with a married man. It was called Love Letters or something like that. So she did try to transition into more serious fare, and she did a pretty good job at it. I mean, Love Letters is no Halloween, but if you're into that kind of stuff, I mean, it got critical reviews that said it was really good for what it is. I don't know.
If you want a comic masterpiece, watch Fish Called Wanda.
Oh, there you
Jamie
go.
Lee Curtis is brilliant in that, along with John Cleese and Kevin Kline.
I just want to. This is going to be a big sideways comment, but I just want to point this out that for all the shit the horror genre gets about its treatment of women, I can't think of another genre that women could go to if they had bona fides in the genre, can come back to at the end of their career and still get lead roles.
Mm.
You're not getting that in the romantic comedies or action films. I'm sorry, you're not.
No.
If there's sexism in the industry, it's that after age 35, you start having to play mom.
Yeah.
And the horror genre is the only place that will at least give mom an actual arc.
Well, and let's at 35, your mom. At 37, your career's done.
Yeah.
At 40, you're ancient. You're over.
Yep.
Your grandma by then.
Yeah,
Back
you're
then,
done.
for sure. Yeah.
So,
And there is a stigma on older actors too, especially the action guys. Once they get to a certain age, it's like, come on, Grandpa. You know, the believability factor here is getting a little thin. You know, like when Schwarzenegger was doing some of his films after he got out of politics, it just didn't resonate. You know, it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Bronson was cracking skulls into his 60s.
But Charles Bronson was a different kind of dude altogether.
yeah, no, he wasn't cracking anyone's skulls. He was pointing guns at people and recoiling. That's it.
Hey, you know,
all he does in those movies. He doesn't have a fight in any of those movies.
Dude was like what, 50 when he made Hard Times?
I mean,
about the bare knuckle boxer. I mean, and he was cut as hell. I mean, he looked like he could kick everybody's ass.
Hey, Adrienne Barbeau in the convent was blowing away demon nuns with the shotgun, and she got in her action role as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't Adrienne Barbeau also the cheating chess bitch in The Thing?
The Thing?
She was in Creepshow as the drunk wife in the crate.
I was kind of joking, but yeah, she plays the voice of the chess machine in the beginning of The Thing.
Was that her or Jamie Lee Curtis?
I thought it was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah,
I did too.
What?
I could be wrong.
I thought so.
I think
I
Curtis.
thought it was Adrienne Barbeau.
I
know Jamie Lee Curtis did the voice in Halloween 3 of the announcements in the town. I do.
Yeah.
But I don't
look
remember.
at that. I mean, if 1 minute he's picking her up on the side of the road, the next minute she's in his
If
bed.
he had a bed in the back of his car, it would have been done right there, man.
Exactly, yeah.
We don't have to go to my house, baby.
This is why everybody loves Tom Atkins, right?
Well, Well, yeah, he's like the every guy that never strikes out. He's what you know what I mean. It's just like I could be an every guy. I don't have to be special. I don't have to look like this guy or that guy. You just got to be. You have to have the Atkins magic. And that's something that every normal guy is like, oh man, what a lucky guy! Look at that one. Somebody like me can get a chick like that. So that's his appeal, I guess. That he has a great sense of humor about it. But maybe this got overlooked a little bit because it's not a slasher, and this kind of came out right at the peak of slashers. And you have John Carpenter directing Halloween. You have Jamie Lee Curtis Halloween. And maybe it is kind of a slasher, but it's not maybe what they were expecting. So when they saw Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis, and then she had been in, Prom Night, she had been in, all these other type of movies, and maybe, it's like when they were mad that Michael Myers wasn't in part 3, or something like that. Maybe it was like one of those things, like, oh well, The Fog, it wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, where's the Masked Maniac? I'm sure to a degree, but man, it's better than most of those films, not all.
But I mean, by 80, Halloween had become Halloween.
Yeah.
So
Halloween, So over the course of 2 years and 3 different rollouts of the film, regional rollouts, it was the most successful independent film ever made at that point. So Halloween was a cultural touchstone, and a year later it would make its television broadcast premiere on ABC, and it was off to the races. That was the moment. Honestly, putting it on regular television put the film way over the top, because it was the night before Halloween it came on, and they promoted the hell out of it, as they used to, as the network broadcast premiere. Most people didn't have cable in 1981. So right around Halloween was already a big deal by the time this movie came out, definitely.
I wonder if Carpenter felt any, it's the classic sophomore effort kind of thing. You have a huge hit your first time around, and then there's all these expectations, and you know what I mean? If this had been his third film or his fourth film, would it have been perceived any differently?
I also think this is the time that they were holding him hostage for Halloween 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was trying to get The Fog made, but they wanted him to be involved in Halloween 2. So I think he had some conflict of interest going on when he was making this film. That might have drawn his attention away from it. That's probably why he doesn't like it, because he wasn't able to do exactly what he wanted to do because of the conflict. I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Well, we're not in his head, so we don't know exactly how he saw the movie. So sometimes that's all there is to it. We see the masterpiece, but maybe this shot didn't go exactly how he wanted, or
I think.
Well, as it goes with most creative people, they never feel like it's good enough. It could always be better. If I could have only done this, or if I'd have known it was going to flow like that, I would have put this scene in there. And they only see the mistakes or the things they perceive as mistakes.
Well,
and we don't see that.
I just read that Carpenter doesn't like The Fog simply because of the reshoots and low production values.
Which is like today, we can't even see low production values in this, because it looks more like a real movie than anything that came out theatrically this year.
Yeah.
I just checked the numbers. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I just checked the numbers, in that this was made for $1 million and it made $21 million. So for a Carpenter film, it made money, but it wasn't, of course, Halloween. But also it came out February 1st of 1980. So this is before Friday the 13th. This is before, slasher became one of the quintessential genres.
Well, there had been a bunch of what we call now proto slashers that got rebranded and remarketed as slashers in Halloween's wake. So we tend to think of as Friday the 13th as the beginning of the sweepstakes. No, it was the one that won the sweepstakes. There was a number of films that were out before that.
And Stone, you were right on Barbeau. Dave,
I thought so.
Wow.
I thought so. Yeah, that was Adrienne Barbeau.
I apologize, sir.
Of the chess lady in the beginning of the thing.
Well, Barbeau and Carpenter were a thing for a while.
Yeah, they were together
for 4 years, something like that.
Yep, they were together on this movie. Actually, it was probably a little weird for Deborah Hill, I imagine.
Yeah, but this was
she
after
mentioned
he was
that
with Deborah Hill, right?
Yeah,
it was in the
yeah.
transitionary period, I think, from her to
Oh.
Adrian, and then they both ended up making this movie. Because I think the story went that Carpenter and Hill went together to do the location scouting when they were still together. And in the meantime, before they started shooting, they had broke up, and he started going out with Adrian Barbeau. So that had to have been hell for her. I mean,
and then Atkins took them both, and that was it.
So he did a.
she could have just got back at him for going to Atkins' trailer all the time. Like, oh no, go hang out with Adrian. Go ahead.
So John Carpenter did a Peter Bogdanovich by leaving his writing and producing partner in the wake of a sexy new hot star. Okay, makes
Basically,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, is Jamie Lee Curtis supposed to be a teenager here? Does she give her age?
I believe 19. Okay. She's 19. Supposed to be. Okay. I think.
How old do we reckon Atkins is here?
He's ageless, man. It don't matter. He's the I mean, he picked her up the night before. He's already got that arm around her, man. Like, you're mine. You know what I mean? He owns that now. Just took him like less than 24 hours. Boom.
So happy to see Janet Leigh on screen.
Yeah. I've always had a thing for Nancy Loomis too. I always thought she was foxy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm the PJ Souls guy, but
I love PJ Souls too.
I'd be on the Nancy Loomis side of things. I love that her personality as an actress comes through, but she still can act into a role.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of actors do that, but it's not usually the small kind of like character actors that are secondary characters in films. You usually don't get that much of a sense of who they are. In just a few films, you really do get her,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's attractive to me, as opposed to just, hey, it's the chick that was in the June issue of Playboy. This was her only horror film. That just becomes a whatever.
Right here, I would say Nancy, but Jamie Lee was looking pretty good in True Lies. She
was. That's true.
I would definitely say Jamie Lee probably held up the best as far as age goes. I mean, she did get, even now, if you put her up against any of these other actresses she was in these movies with, she's still going to have a little bit of an edge. She held up really well. Maybe it was all that yogurt. I'm not exactly sure, but it didn't hurt. That's for sure.
No. Activia, man. It's like
hey, man, clean out that colon. You know what I mean?
How many? She had to have signed a few things of Activia. Somebody has to have done that.
Somebody, yeah, somebody has to.
And she doesn't seem to have the same sense of humor about things that she used to. She seems a lot more, I don't know. Her personality is less appealing in modern times than it used to be, for me anyway.
A little grumpier, maybe.
Well, it's just, I don't know. It's just something off-putting about the way she talks to people. But, she is basically Hollywood royalty, so I think she kind of adopted that mantle and just runs with it.
She was really good in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once right now in theaters. She had a pretty good role in that, actually. She's pretty funny.
I want to see that. I want to see that very much. It's from the same guys that made Swiss Army Man.
Yes. Daniel Scheinert. Great name. Great name. I think when I first popped on Region Free, 2 people asked me if I was the guy that directed Swiss Army Man, which I thought was kind of funny.
This is a step up for Janet Leigh, because remember in 1972 she did shit like Night of the Lepus with the giant rabbits attacking the countryside. This movie is a lot more classy than that.
I have a original one sheet for Night of the Lepus. I don't have it up, but I have it.
Break it out. No.
That would take a while. I love Night of the Lepus.
I love it too. I'm not going to defend it as a good movie, but it's entertaining. I love it.
And by the way, anyway, if you have problems with Cannibal Holocaust, maybe you skip out on Night of the Lepus.
That is true.
Yes.
There's a whole lot of bunny rabbit death in that movie.
Yes.
Unsimulated.
I'd like to go to these shooting locations.
Oh yeah, kudos to Dean Cundy
Mm-hmm.
for his
most
cinematography.
definitely.
I mean, full of gorgeous shots of the coast, coast and everything.
Okay, so this is gonna Stone. You set me off. You're to blame. So this is one of the reasons I love this movie a lot more than I love The Thing. God damn, this movie is well shot.
Yeah.
The Thing is not shot nearly as well as this film. Period.
Who's the DP on The Thing?
Cundy, right?
Was Cundy, wasn't it?
I thought it was Cundy.
Yeah, it was Cundy.
But that film is extraordinarily flat compared to this. And I'm not bashing The Thing. I love The Thing, but it's, I don't know. This is what I love in horror, right? I love mood and atmosphere, and I love these big locations that are kind of oppressive in their own light. I like the ensemble cast. I like a lot of things going on. I like the fact that the story does what a horror film should do, or horror story should do. Starts on a wide canvas and works to a very narrow canvas, which this film does brilliantly. This is just this is
in this church. Sorry.
Yeah. This is what I love in horror. You know, I love the idea of what would you do in this situation? Well, you know what? If it was set modernly, a cell phone ain't helping you here, babe.
No.
I love that sense of everything that can possibly impinge upon your freedom, sanity, and life happens. Love it.
I think seaside horror is still very strong, and I'd like to see more of it, because when you're out there, you know, when I'm out there on my boat, it's not much different than it would have been, 100 years ago. I mean, it still feels like untouched when you're out there, and I think there's something very powerful about that. We haven't mentioned Hal Holbrook yet, but
yes, Hal
another
Holbrook.
excellent addition to the cast.
Yeah.
But for me, The Thing has a lot of similar. You have the ensemble cast, because all the actors working together in The Thing. You have some really good actors in there. You talk about isolated with no cell phones and no way of getting a hold. You are on your own, and now you can't even trust your battle buddies, right? You can't even now. So, are you human? Are you so the paranoia factor, the location, the weather being a factor, almost being as oppressive as The Thing itself, and the idea of that you can't tell somebody's infected until they freak out on you and you discover them. I don't know. The Thing is just, I'm not trying to argue my reasons for why I like it more, but I'm just saying that it does a lot of the same things, but in my opinion, maybe even a little better. But this has a different feel to it that I appreciate as well. I like how it's like a normal town that's just suddenly, slowly becoming attacked, by this, I don't know, paranormal force of revenge. Ghost pirates, man. How cool is that? I like Ghost Pirates.
I think The Thing feels like more of an ensemble cast than it really is, because we've watched it too much. I think the person who's watched the film twice in life does not know who Windows is by name.
Yeah.
That is the McCready Show, right? I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Where you can't say the same thing here. Every character gets to lead their side of the adventure. The Thing is a great film. I mean, if we're going to argue between The Thing and The Fog, we're both winning. That's a good argument to have, because neither of us are going to lose.
But let's argue The Fog versus The Fog remake, because I think it's close when you're talking about those films. Lauren, how many times have you seen The Fog remake?
Just in the theater the first time, and it will never happen again.
Why did you watch that in the theater? Did you
lose a bet?
This
is my favorite Carpenter film. I was opening day. I wanted to see, and it was early in the remake cycle. I had been pleasantly surprised by both the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Dawn of the Dead remakes. And in one of those cases, I feel it's better than the original source material, So I had high hopes that were dashed pretty fucking fast.
Yeah, that is one that feels like they did it on purpose. if I didn't know any better. It was just so bad.
There are zombie ghosts that kiss in that movie.
Oy. Oy.
Oh, wow.
I know you've blocked it out, but that happens.
I haven't had to because I've avoided it.
Unless you want to be angry, there's no reason to see it.
Yeah.
Did anybody pick this up? I think a couple of years ago now, we finally got Fog merch, which I thought was really cool. Not just another Jason or Freddy.
Yeah, I didn't pick it up, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't buy every action figure, but I was like, okay, if they're doing something that there's not already 50 of, I'm gonna grab it.
Yeah.
While I'm a unabashed fan of Garfield the Cat, I must confess that they ripped off the Fog for the Garfield's Halloween adventure, which involved a pirate ship coming back in a fog and terrorizing the coastal community where Garfield and Odie live. So that needs to be mentioned, and I won't go back to it, I assure you.
Did all the ghosts want was lasagna?
Exactly. Yeah.
Just wanted some lasagna.
Yeah.
The Daily Ghost, thank you for the $5 super chats. Not in the chat much today, but been a great listen from this all-star panel. More commentaries, please. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Very kind of you.
To be fair, a lot of animated shows and kids shows rip off plots of movies just because they need to fill an episode. It's like, oh, I know, we could do a Heathcliff episode where it's a Rear Window and call it Rear Cat Window.
Dave mentions Hal Holbrook was in Girls Night Out, which is getting a Blu-ray release soon from Arrow.
It is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Holbrook just passed away last year at the age of 95.
Yeah, he was in that Robert Pattinson circus movie whose name's escaped. He worked like almost right up until the end. He's an amazing actor.
Mm-hmm.
Water for Elephants is the film. Yeah, he was in that.
Oh, yeah. Well, the last movie I saw him in was Into the Wild, directed by Sean Penn, about the guy that gave up all money and resources and just decided to live out in the boondocks. And
that's a good film, too.
Yeah.
Why
Good
does
film.
Sean Penn look homeless now? This is a problem. I mean, he looks legitimately like a psychotic homeless person. I don't get it.
Yeah, he kind of does.
That was a great scene there with Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis, because you've got Hal Holbrook here telling a scary story. Then you've got it in their part of the story. Then you've got Tom Atkins telling Jamie Lee Curtis a scary story. Then you've got the misdirection of the locker and then the body. So,
and the whole film has this recurring thing about false narratives, which is just great. Like, you keep getting ghost stories within ghost stories. You don't know what's reliable. And even at the end, the very end of the film, it doesn't really resolve all of it, which I love too.
I know at one point there was an idea that they could make this a series where different creatures come out of the fog, and it would, they would kind of go off of it like that and just have different stories. But this is one of those movies, like, I mean, shit, they may remake it again, but I just don't think there's anything to improve upon with this film.
Right.
I mean,
they'd have to do something where they completely rearrange the story, but then if you're going to do that, I mean, just make something new. Just make something new. Just rip this movie off and make something new, but make it good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll forgive anything if it's good. If it's effective, if it takes me somewhere I have not gone before, do whatever the hell you have to. I'm cool with it. It's one reason I think High Tension is great. It's Kuntz's intensity, but you know what? It's probably a better adaptation we'd get from a literal adaptation. So let's go for it.
Every time I go to the bookstore with Jeremy, he'll go to the horror section, and every time I'll turn around and Dean Kuntz's intensity is staring at me in the face. It's like daring me to read it.
What's your best option with Koontz?
I can't tell you how many times I've been in the horror section of the bookstore with Jeremy, and like I just look and there's intensity.
Man, I wonder, the location scouting, they did a great job. I mean, all the set pieces are amazing. This lighthouse, but I wonder how he had to talk, how long it took him to talk himself into doing it with those stairs. Because somebody had to go. The cameras are got to go down there, and they got to come back up, and then they got to go down there again.
You crane that shit up and go through a window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, these locations are still there. I'd love to go see these locations. I think it'd be really cool.
You can
I would love to go.
You can visit all the bird shooting locations at the same time.
Yeah.
Is any of you going to that Thing 40th anniversary location party or whatever that they're doing, where they're actually going back to the place where the Thing was shot?
I hadn't heard of that.
Be cool.
I heard about that like 4 or 5 years ago. Like a bunch of people were trying to raise some money to go up there.
I don't know if I want to go there. I don't know if I want to go there for that.
You don't know if you want to do that? Well, I know Camp Crystal Lake is a little bit more appealing, but
well, I mean, it's just I don't traipse off into the the Great North, snow, and
that'd be an interesting region free though, live from the base.
That would
kind of faked that already once.
Yeah, that
we did. We did. Yeah.
Who wants to rent the?
No, we didn't. We went there, Lord. We didn't spare any expense. You got
That's the poor bastard who had to edit it together. We know we didn't.
Now, John Carpenter actually has a cameo in this film, right? Have we already passed it?
At the very beginning.
Already passed it.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was very nervous acting opposite Hal Holbrook, so he didn't do that too often after that. But he had body bags, of course.
Yeah.
I like this cameo in Halloween with the smoke that comes out in front of her face when they go try to see Michael Myers behind the bush.
Mm-hmm.
That should have become John Carpenter's trademark. Like in one scene in every one of his movies, he just blows smoke in front of the
exactly.
face.
He should have done that. Now, just real quick, because this was his fourth movie. What do you guys real quick think of his first two movies, Dark Star and Assault on Precinct 13?
Oh, love Assault on Precinct 13, and I mean Dark Star, obviously.
It's barely a movie.
It's
I was actually going to mention what's the movie he did with
Elvis?
It was a TV movie. No, someone's watching me.
Someone's watching me.
Yeah. Oh, I've always thought that was pretty good.
It is for what it is. The ending is too abrupt, but yeah, for what it is, it's good.
Yeah,
you can see the constraints of
Elvis
television.
Movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's again, at that time, a TV movie for the horror genre was in no way a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I remember that one being pretty good. I've not seen the Elvis movie.
Oh.
It's what you think it is.
Yeah.
If you're a huge Elvis fan and a huge Kurt Russell fan or whatever, I mean, it's a good. I mean, I saw it at the time, and at the time, I'm still a fan of Elvis. But at the time, I really ate it up. I really loved it when I saw it on TV. But I was a kid, and
Well, they got that new Elvis movie coming out soon.
Yep. Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah, Baz Luhrmann.
Looks interesting.
The Tom Hanks is Colonel Tom Parker.
Yeah.
You see, I would not go. No.
He's not the sure thing he was a while ago. He's had a few forgettable movies.
So the other thing that we as horror fans, even though this is part of the genre too, we tend to overlook from Carpenter is that, Isolde on Mars is the bookend to Halloween. Like that, he had these two massive successes, one as a writer, one as a director. They really set him on a path that got this movie made, but with real money. But then the thing comes along and underperforms hugely and is pretty hugely derided critically as well. And he never recovered. Yeah. He never was able to get back on the path towards what if you would have asked people in 1978, what's this guy going to be doing in 10, 15 years? The answer would be very different than what actually happened. And it just shows you that the one film, whether it's deserving or not, can derail an entire career. I don't think Carpenter would have been making Escape from L.A. As the only film he could get greenlit in the world that he should have inherited from all these early picks.
I've heard Rambo Rap say he saw Escape from LA before he saw Escape from New York. I don't know how many people are like that, but he was a big fan of Escape from LA, and then he saw Escape from New York, and he still liked Escape from LA better for a while. Wow. And now he's kind of like leans toward New York, but he still likes LA. I saw LA at a drive-in when it came out, and to me, it was just I like hanging out with an old friend you haven't seen for a while. You know what I mean? Neither one of you are at your peak anymore, but you still got a lot of fun to be had just reminiscing. And I kind of felt, even though it was basically a retread of the first one, it was just nice to see Carpenter doing something again with Kurt Russell. And I like the character, and I don't know, I enjoy the movie for what it is. Yeah, it's got some bad CGI in it, and it's not the greatest flick in the world, but I still enjoy it.
Had a great trailer, though.
Oh, I was excited.
We all were.
One day, very, very soon, people are going to revisit and reevaluate Ghosts of Mars as the masterpiece that it is.
No, they won't.
No,
you're wrong.
I will never argue that it's a masterpiece, but damn it, I like that movie. I can't help it.
Piz. The movie that is going to be watched nonstop in the next few weeks is probably going to be The Ward. Okay, I think enough.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Enough needs to be said about that.
The thing about Ghosts of Mars, I will say, if Carpenter wasn't the one that directed it would probably just have been forgotten. I mean, it wouldn't have gotten glowing reviews necessarily, but it would be perfectly fine probably for a lot of people if it didn't have the Carpenter name attached to it. I think having Jason Statham in the lead role, which was originally the plan, would have helped that movie a little bit.
Statham and Courtney Love. That was the original plan.
Yes.
That's a far more interesting film right there.
Yes. Yeah. The two more interesting leads than Henstridge and Ice Cube.
Ice
for sure.
Cube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Ice-T over Ice Cube.
Every day of the week.
Ice-T's been in some good stuff now.
Surviving the Game.
Surviving the Game.
Yeah.
Yep, I like that movie a lot.
That had
Wasn't he in
Trespass?
Was he in Gunmen?
Yes. No. Gunmen
Mean Guns.
Mean Guns.
Which is an amazing film that no one watches.
Yeah, Mean Guns. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
It's really good. I interviewed Albert Pune years ago, and yeah, it's certainly at that period maybe his best film.
Is he okay? I think I read or heard somewhere that he was maybe dealing with some
dementia. I believe. Yeah, by now, honestly, I'm not so sure, but he was still fairly healthy when we interviewed him, but yeah, I don't know now, to be honest.
See, I think that might be what Hollywood needs, to take some people suffering from cognitive disorders, give them films to make. At least they'd be interesting compared to the just shellacked pieces of crap that we get now. In general.
Yep. Yeah. Whenever somebody mentions shellac, I always think of Leonard Maltin in his movie guide when he said that Ghoulies, it looked like Muppets dipped in shellac.
I think Berkovici would probably agree with that. I don't think that's offensive to anyone.
That say what you will, that traumatized some kids with trying to go to the bathroom for a while.
It's
That
true.
poster art.
Well, the thing is, the original Ghoulies is just this weird wizard movie. The creatures are like incidental and don't matter.
There it is.
And then all the sequels decided to make it into like, I don't know, like Gremlins ripoffs, whatever.
Here he is coming out of the toilet at you. There he is. There he is.
Nice.
I thought your favorite was still Hobgoblins.
I don't think anybody's favorite
Nobody's
is
favorite.
Hobgoblins.
Or is it elves?
Well,
God,
elves. There's elves. I ate that stuff up as a kid. I mean, Munchie and
yeah.
Robert Long says, Ice-T and Johnny Mnemonic. I'll take Robert. I'll take your Johnny Mnemonic, and I'll raise you a Ice-T and Tank Girl.
Ooh, Tank Girl.
Not in this room, but there is a Tank Girl poster signed by Lori Petty and Malcolm McDowell in my life.
You gotta get Ice on there.
I do. I still have to meet.
I'm
him.
shocked he hasn't done the conventions.
He's done one. He did do one a while back, actually, and people were making a big deal out of it.
I imagine so.
I think maybe in the last year, honestly. I don't know if it was Monster Mania or what. Maybe somebody in the chat knows, but I know he was advertised for one. But he's got that Law and Order money.
Yeah, he's got that gig, I mean, he's not in the need. Now, if he loses that gig, he might pop up a little more often.
He does a lot of commercials too. I was watching TV not long ago, and he was in like 3 out of the 5 commercials that was in every commercial break. There was an Ice-T promoting stuff.
Car Shield's one of them.
Ice-T is a Jersey boy. He can come do Monster Mania. He can do that.
I liked, even while he was doing TV, it's like he would do his like B movie run where you'd see him in like some really bad family movie like Jacob Tutu and the Hooded Fang. Then he would, do some of those like rapper movies that they shot the whole thing in their damn house.
Oh yeah.
He's had an interesting career.
We've got Gibbs in the chat tonight. What's up, Gibbs? How you doing, man?
What's up?
Well, guys, gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and check out because I got my ticket to see The Northman tonight at 10:25. But I wanted to wish you all well and enjoy the rest of the commentary. And I'll be excited to tell you about The Northman when I get done with it.
I may go tomorrow. So, yeah, cool, let us know.
Absolutely. Good night, guys.
Good to see you again.
Night, I always wanted to just work in a lighthouse for like a summer. I always thought that would just be a really interesting experience. Probably a great way to write something too. I mean, no distractions.
Or the solitude would just drive you insane.
That is true. I wouldn't spend the time with Willem Dafoe for sure.
I was going to say Willem Dafoe would show up there, and you'd get into conversations with him, and
you could brutally murder a seagull.
Yeah,
that is true. That is true.
Yeah, as soon as I said Gibbs was in the chat, Stone was like, "I'm out." I don't know. Maybe there's some heat between you two. I don't know.
Just intimidated. Just intimidated.
Long-term feud.
When you really look at it, like this cast is impossible. This movie really shouldn't exist.
Yeah, it's such an amazing cast.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not generally a vinyl guy, but my God, this one was essential. Just even that opening narration.
I like this score more than I like the Halloween score. That's for sure.
I agree.
Here you go. Another Carpenter regular.
Oh, what just beautiful scenery.
Yeah, I mean, that's some really nice looking CGI fog too. It looks almost real. It's so good.
I got to see this at a drive-in screening with fog. I know I've told that story before, but man, did it add to it. I think I was geeking out, texting everybody I knew, just like there's actual fog here, man. And I sat outside.
It would have been cool of the drive-in owner if they had people dressed like the pirates walking around with like the hooks on their hands knocking on your window, you know?
Yes. That was
See,
they were
there's only one drive-in left in New Jersey, but if you did that shit here, people would be dead. Like actors would be dead. Yeah. You can't do that stuff here.
Ice-T just blows them away.
You go over to PA, you're fine. You can do that kind of stunt work, and they have drive-ins.
Yep, it's a couple. There's a few in Pennsylvania. That's where I was.
Yep. Again, vintage cars for a reason. Important to ghost stories. Keep telling people they're not in the present day as we know it. Because if you're gonna have an evil from the past show up, you have to set up that visual language. I think it might even help that, I mean, it wasn't intentional at the time, but all the rotary phones, all the old style maritime lighting, it's easy to get lost into it as a ghost story. It just works.
What came out first, John Carpenter's Fog or Stephen King's story, The Mist?
The Fog, I believe. Mist, it comes out that was in Dark Forces, which I believe is 82. It's the anthology it was in.
Yeah, Fog's got it beat. Yeah.
But, I mean, they both share the same, I don't know, the same inspirations, so...
Are you a fan of the film adaptation of The Mist?
No.
Yeah, I like it.
I know people do,
not really.
But it doesn't work for me at all.
Even the downbeat ending?
Well, which is not in the novella.
You know, I thought it was brave that they didn't go for the Hollywood ending. You know, they actually stuck to the depressing ending. But it still didn't make me like the movie, though.
There's too much in that movie that just doesn't work for me. And the novella is very smart about being very contained, and the movie stretches it out, and that's very, very counterproductive to me. Also, there's something about imagining the Lovecraftian beasties in the mist that works on the page. And then we have dumb CGI tentacles in the movie, and I'm just like, There's a reason people want to watch that movie in black and white, because it hides how cheesy some of the CGI really is.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how Darabont wanted to release it, was in black and white, I believe.
Well, that would have been smarter. But then there's also like this character things that I hate. I mean, the ultra religious woman is such a horrific stereotype. It's in the book, but it's not nearly as pronounced, or at least I didn't.
It was over the top.
It's horrible.
Yeah, way over the top, yeah.
And that's, as the confirmed atheist of the group, I'll tell you, it offended me for Christians. So no, I don't really like The Mist at all. I understand why people like it in the time period it came out, especially, but nah. And it doesn't hold a candle to this.
Oh no, this is the superior film by far.
Well, that was one scene that Siskel and Ebert used in their review about how repetitive and boring this film was to them. About there's fog, there's lights, there's a knock at the door, somebody gets stabbed. There's fog, there's lights, there's a knock at the door, somebody gets stabbed. They said it was just repetitive and not scary. I disagree. I go back to my angle about how the fear of the dark is what's driving the fear in the fog. Fog's not scary, no, but what might be in the fog is the point. So that is what's scary. But you know, those two guys are too busy watching 3-hour movies about people whittling shoes out of tree bark. So what do they know?
That's right.
Look how much darkness is actually on screen. How much of the frame is dark. in every shot from the halfway point
It's
on.
not overlit either. It looks natural. The lights look practical. I mean,
It's awesome.
And modern day films are just too overlit. They're too bright for me. I don't.
Oh yeah, put this against something Marvel released last year. Anything. One of them looks like a movie. One of them looks like a video game.
Yeah, I'm done with Marvel.
Well, it's not just Marvel though, because it's infected everything. They're they're the easier cultural reference I can make, but like so much looks like that.
That's why it's really hard for me to find a new movie that I actually am excited to go see. When I can just sit back and watch an old movie that I skipped from before, it's probably going to be better, look better, and be better. So why would I go out to see the newest overblown, overlit CGI green screen crap with a bad story, and when I can watch something good like this, or even something else that. I mean, I watched The Outlaw Josie Wales the other day, and I loved the hell out of it. I mean, I'm starting to like some old school actual filmmaking.
I never worked with green screen, but I couldn't imagine filming a Marvel movie at this point. Just the whole thing being in the warehouse somewhere.
And if you're like Tom Holland, you got to run around with that dot suit on.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
It'd be pretty scary if we had Roger Ebert coming out of the mist, for sure.
Jesus. Carrying his
Especially
jaw in his hand.
Yeah. Jacob Marley. It's the whole.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ebert fans. I don't like him.
I was not a fan. Listen, growing up, you watched that show because it was a show about movies, and that was exciting. But looking back, man.
Well, for me, it's nostalgic because I grew up around Chicago. So I got to watch their show when they first started on local television. And then as they built up to go syndicated, by the time Disney owned them, they were really worthless. But they were it was kind of cool in the old days of their original show because they would banter back and forth a lot more and joke around. They weren't as serious and angry. I don't know. I like the sneak preview stuff, and even the one before that, which now showing or something like that, or the original Siskel and Ebert. Yeah, I like to sit back and I can only imagine. I try to cut him some slack though, because if you have to watch like 300 movies a year, every year, right? So I could kind of understand them being a little more sensitive to tropes and lazy filmmaking.
Those are rookie numbers.
300 theater experiences every year, and you got to go see everything.
See, to me, Siskel was more of the genre hater. Like he hated.
He was the snobbier one.
He was
even though Roger liked to flaunt his Pulitzer Prize every 5 seconds.
But see,
Gene
later
was still
on,
the snobbier art guy.
He liked Carnosaur. He liked
Siskel
Carnosaur.
did.
Siskel liked Carnosaur.
But see, that's the thing though, is I think that when Siskel liked or hated something, I believed he actually loved or hated it. Ebert, I felt, was playing a game whereas he had to say, I like this, that proves I like these kind of movies, so I can bash the rest of them.
Yeah, and he flip-flopped on certain things. Blade Runner was one that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he shit on that one, and later
he did.
Loved it. It's a masterpiece. And I don't know. I never had a whole lot of respect for Ebert, but rest in peace. But
he did the same thing with Donnie Darko. Like he gave it a 2-star, and then he revisited it once it became Donnie Darko, and he gave it like a 3.5 or something, or 4.
Once the cult grew around it.
I think Gene Siskel just didn't see himself as a brand. He just saw himself as a movie reviewer. Ebert definitely saw himself as a brand. I think that's the difference in the two's approach. But it doesn't matter. They were symptomatic of like where movie reviewing was in those days. You couldn't come out and say, hey, Halloween 2 is a great slasher film, because the words great slasher film were not allowed to be in their vocabulary.
Right.
Whereas I think we've come a long way, but unfortunately we have the opposite problem now, which is that we're allowed to be, the professional critics are allowed to be so fanboyish that they're indistinguishable from just everyone else. And at that point, you're just watching any other viewer.
Oh, critics today are afraid to criticize certain movies.
Sure. The Last Scream is a great example of that.
So you can't be too critical these days. Siskel would be
Granny. You'll regret it.
Siskel would be canceled in today's culture.
I love that shot.
Roger was like a precursor to the progressives in some way. If you listen to some of his rants, he could really get on a high horse about certain things. So it's like, calm down, bro. It was a movie.
Oh, well, their whole dead teenager thing is built around this moral statement, not a value of the storytelling.
They were always going on and on about violence toward children and women, and these filmmakers and the audiences hate women. I mean, they were talking about that stuff in the early 80s, right? I mean, that's something that was later echoed by the guy who directed the Star Wars crap.
Roger Ebert loved Anaconda. We were talking about Anaconda.
Cop and a Half, and Siskel loved busting his balls for loving Cop and a Half.
But again, I think did he really love it, or did he feel like that was the one he could point to and say, "See, I like cheesy monster movies because I liked Anaconda," but that would be his one thing in that field, at that time. Later
on in Ebert's career, I mean, he loved the second Rob Zombie movie, The Devil's
Rejects.
Devil's Rejects.
Yeah.
He loved Devil's Rejects.
He did sort of alter himself a little bit towards the end of his run, but man, I would like to reanimate them both to review The Sadness for sure. That would be a lot of fun.
Siskel would probably kill you for doing that.
Yeah.
He hated those kind of movies.
He would.
That's one thing he would always bitch about is the violence. Like did a review of the movie that had the Love Boat Girl in it about the killer, and Jennifer Jason Leigh was her blind sister.
Eyes of a Stranger.
Eyes of a Stranger.
Yeah, Eyes of a Stranger. I couldn't think of the title of it. I could think of something else. But they said it was a really great movie, but it was full of all kinds of unpleasant, unnecessary, horrifically violent scenes. So it's like they wanted to recommend it because it was well made, but they couldn't because it was trash and all this.
Right.
You could tell they liked that one too, but they couldn't like it too much.
Yeah, they liked it, but they couldn't say they liked it. So the review was kind of like, we secretly give it a thumbs up, but we can't tell you that.
Another thing I always thought was cool about The Fog was, we'll kill Grandma too. You know what?
Nobody's safe in the fog, baby.
Yeah.
Nobody.
We'll get 3 of the pirates to kill her.
Of course, Stevie sent in the Atkins. You knew the kid was going to be fine.
Oh, yeah.
They're not getting him.
No. Once the Atkins is on the case, forget about it. Here's the phone call. How old is the woman? 65? I'm going to be a little late. I'll get the kid, though, for sure.
Those lepers didn't underestimate the elderly, so.
No. There's Nancy there in the background.
Yeah, she definitely was looking good in this movie, that's for sure.
Yeah. Or not Nancy, Deborah Hill. Deborah Hill was in the background there.
Yeah.
I didn't see her.
Yeah, she had a small part. It's hard to believe she's been gone since 2005. Feels like
I know,
man.
It's long time.
Sorry if we zone out. That's always the issue with like a really good movie. Sometimes I forget I'm on the comment.
If you get involved in watching it, like, oh damn, this is good.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, I better talk.
I love the lighting and the color and oh yeah.
And so we're doing the proper horror movie funnel is starting to reach its point. That big screen, everything's well lit. The town looks so big at the beginning. Now we get smaller. The dark spaces are taking up more of the frame. The cast is coming physically together. We're going to that pinpoint. That is actually the proper structure mostly. There's exceptions. But if you want to build tension, getting smaller and more finite is always the way to do that. And good storytelling in this movie is just a perfect example of it. Carpenter used to be very cognizant of that too, because Halloween does the same thing. Starts with those big wide views of Haddonfield, and we end up in a closet.
Yeah.
And again, if you look at his later career, he gets away from that formula, and the films are no longer scary. Captain Halloween, you're not funny.
This William Forsythe just coming out of this fog.
Oh my God, William Forsythe, yeah. And Ken Foray in there too.
His wife as the frog.
The most annoying thing possible is like casting your horror movie out of a horror convention. It's like begging fans to give it the pass for all your insecurities and all your failings because, oh, it's that guy I like that's in that, and that's that girl I like that's in that. Horrible. Don't do it.
I still think Zombies Monsters is going to be spectacular.
You know what? That might be the one. I mean, I at least like what I've heard so far. Again, Sherry Moon is Lily. That's, I don't know about that, but
I want to see what he can do outside of an R rating or an extreme rating. It's what, PG or PG-13?
It is PG.
Yeah, PG.
Okay, so it's going to be very interesting to see how much talent he really has to be able to make a movie that restrained. I mean, there's going to be no skull penetration allowed. You know what I mean? There's going to none of his normal dialogue will be So it'll be interesting to hear how he writes characters that actually speak words instead of long lines of profanity strewn together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not a prude or anything, but come on, give me some dialogue. That's garbage. So yeah, I'm interested. Once I heard the rating, I was in. Before that, I was like, I don't want to watch that. Like, I got to see what this guy can do with the PG. Is he going to go more comedy slapstick? Is it going to be more like the TV show? I don't know how he can go full Rob Zombie into the PG, but it'd be interesting.
The poor script supervisor. It's like, I don't know what purge your snork means, but I don't think Herman can say it. So we're going to need to change that.
And for people who say that this is a slow, boring movie, I think it's paced almost perfectly.
Oh, yeah. This is not a boring movie. I mean,
right.
I don't understand. I mean, imagine just adding a bunch of action to this. It would certainly.
Well, you saw the remake, right?
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Or like just or just adding like, oh, here's a random car full of teens and they're on a lover's lane, and you know what I mean, just to add to the body count or something.
Well, I think that was in the remake too, wasn't it? Wasn't there kids that just showed up at one point?
I've watched it once too, so my memory is. But yeah, basically everything you shouldn't do.
Hey, you know that classic ghost haunting movie about a haunted town? Yeah.
Well, I mean,
let's use the title.
People call Halloween boring and slow. People call Friday the 13th the original boring and slow. So it's like if there's not something that significant that happens every 5 minutes, it's like,
well, you can't build a thematic story that way, though. You can't just, I don't know, not make it seem, I don't know, watchable.
I mean, I've said it before, like the under 18 crowd, I don't know how many of them are truly embracing the original Halloween today. We might think that, but I don't think that generation is going to be able to sit and focus on, well, probably anything at all, let alone Halloween or a slow burn. Do you think it's funny by this point they did capitalized by getting Jamie Lee on that poster.
Yes, of course. Yes. Yes. I bet Adrian Barbeau was like, wait a minute. You put her on the poster? All the poster really needed was the Atkins with like a Marlboro, just like that. That's it. Just the Atkins with a Marlboro.
Thrill me.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know people who've seen him just recently and said he still looks fantastic, seems in excellent shape.
That's good.
Do you guys want more Carpenter at this point?
No.
No.
I mean,
I don't think his heart's in it anymore. Really, I don't want to see. I don't want to see a half-assed effort from him. No,
I don't want to see another The Ward. You know,
he's happy doing his music and doing tours and hanging out with his kid and stuff, and I'm happy for him. And that's good. He gave me enough. I don't need more.
Yet I'm psyched for new Cronenberg. So
yes, that new Cronenberg film sounds.
Cronenberg didn't have the slide, so we're willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, the lowest Cronenberg got is what? Maybe Existence. Is that the worst Cronenberg film? It's still pretty damn good.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
I'd say Spider, maybe. I like Spider, but Spider to me was. I remember when Spider first came out, and people were like, "Oh, Cronenberg's. Oh, what happened to Cronenberg?" And I liked Spider, but I mean, it's you know.
There really isn't bad Cronenberg. That's the reason I think he still has our faith right now. Now that could change. You know, I mean, he puts out a bad couple films, man. Then we're gonna be in the same boat saying "Let it go." But
I didn't see Map to the Stars and Cosmopolis. I didn't see those two.
I enjoyed them both. Not for everybody, but good films.
I read the book Cosmopolis, which didn't seem very cinematic, but you know,
isn't the lead pirate is Rob Bottin or Botten or however you pronounce his last name? He's the makeup effects guy.
I think you might be right.
Blake.
I think you might be right.
And then the work he did with The Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't discount The Fog at all because I really enjoy the film. The Thing is different. They're both different, but I enjoy them both. But it's just cool that he was involved in both of them.
This was a reshoot here with Barbeau. I know.
I just think it's great that, I mean, you have Rob Bottin's special effects here, but it's not what's driving the story.
No, not at all.
It's the story is driving the story. The conflict that it's all led to this climax is all in place. Which again, I'm not bashing The Thing for what it is, but you take the special effects out of The Thing, I'm not sure it has the reputation it has today.
The Thing special effects are definitely amazing for the time period and what they were able to do with just physical items and make it look the way they did. I mean, it was genius work. I don't know. I still like the movie even without like you got Ebert and those guys calling it a geek show and it's just overtly violent and it's too much. And he got called like a gore porn director and all these things. And I don't see where it's actually as excessive as everybody else does. I mean, if it's an organism like that, what would you think it would look like? And they put that on screen. And I thought that was amazing that they didn't pull punches. And
I think it's...
But the human element drives the story for me.
I don't know. I'd have to see a version of it without the special effects to see if it's actually as strong as we think it is. I think the culmination of the effect sequences, the tension in that movie, the Morricone music, I think it all comes together to form something. But I think the effects are way more important to that film than the effects are to this film. which again, it depends on what you want out of film. I'm definitely a mood, atmosphere, and story guy. So this film is always going to win because it's all so palpable here.
Didn't we have another thing? Reboot, remake, or sequel? I don't know. Okay, yeah, I didn't know where that stood. If that, in that case, I kind of hope the pandemic killed it, but I guess.
My understanding is it's alive.
Not a lot of faith in them for anything, let alone that.
Every once in a while you get a hunt, but don't count on getting a hunt.
So I will definitely say the quality of the special effects, I'll agree this far, because we've seen what the prequel effects look like with the crappy CGI. I would definitely think that the quality of the special effects in the original thing is definitely a draw because they're amazing. But for me, it drew me in, but that's not what kept me going back. I don't watch the thing just so I could watch the head fall off the table and crawl away and all that kind of stuff. That's how great. I watch it for the interaction of the characters.
Mm.
Good. I've come to like these characters in that movie, just like this one. So, only liking it for the effects or only hating it for the effects is kind of, I don't know, it's surface level. It's like maybe it seems excessive, but I don't know. I think it seems appropriate for what they were facing.
Yeah.
And I like that, Father Hal Holbrook, as he's an alcoholic, probably not the best priest on the planet, but he was willing to sacrifice himself to
absolve the sins of his grandfather.
Exactly. Yeah, I like.
He took responsibility for it to save everybody else. I mean, that's a pretty cool way to go out if you're going to go out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not so bad by modern priest standards, for sure.
I also like the fact that this film doesn't feel like it needs to whittle its cast down to nothing.
Right.
Because that plays against expectations.
Yeah, didn't need to be a body count film.
Yeah, like Nancy Loomis's character would be dead. Probably Janet Leigh's character would have been dragged off and killed too.
Adrienne Barbeau's character probably would have been killed there on the roof of the lighthouse because they had many opportunities to kill her, but they didn't. And when they got their gold, then it was over. They got what was stolen from them, and then they left.
I'm not saying that there's no films that come out that have the instincts of this film currently, but it's a rarer breed than it was. So this feels more like the late 70s and the early 80s to me. It's, as a film from 1980, it's on that dividing line, but this does not feel like the Nightmare on Elm Street 80s to me. This feels more like the Exorcist 70s to me. And I think that's partially my love for it too, is that it kind of feels like it was made 5 years too late.
Yeah, there's Mickey Keating's new film has a lot of kind of a love letter to this.
I can definitely agree with that. It definitely feels more like and I'm more and more drawn towards 70s horror, even though that was like where I originated from, was the 70s watching horror. But I find myself being more. I just thought maybe it was because I'm an old guy and it's comfort food. Yeah, but to me, yeah, movies of that era are better made because even though some directors were doing it for a buck, they still tried to do the best movie that they could do to show their talent. So they tried to make magic with nothing, and some of them succeeded. They've come back for you.
Yeah. He's the only one that can't escape the Hereditary.
Yeah. Got to get rid of that
I think it's
connection.
His relative was the biggest asshat of the original asshats.
But you notice what we didn't get that we definitely get in a modern telling of the story. We didn't get some painful flashback to the original event.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we trusted that just kind of having some well-written dialogue, some well-used exposition was enough. And while people always say show don't tell, that's true in general. But with a story like this, you would the danger would be to put a human face on the ghosts, which you don't want to do. That familiarity with who they were would play against the scariness. So the instinct here to appropriately, with really good dialogue, do the work. Again, it's a film with great instincts, I think.
I agree. Every time I watch this, it doesn't get old to me. I don't see any weaknesses in the film that I can point to. Wish we had more of this, but I'm going to say this one, just leave it alone now. There's nothing to improve upon.
Yeah. I agree. So there it is. The Fog live commentary on 421.
Yes.
So that was fun. Always fun to revisit that one. And glad I could revisit it with this lot and with y'all watching at home. And it was cool. It was fun.
Get on the Patreon, guys, and request away. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. What have you got for us next, Captain Halloween? What have you got for us next? Thank you, sir. Very good recommendation. I would not have known the 421 thing. I wouldn't have known it. So thanks for pointing that out, man. Yeah, this was fun.
Yes. He can be a dick and just say the Fog remake, and it'll just be like CGI Piz here.
That would probably look better than anything in the movie.
Jeez. Oh my goodness. But any closing thoughts on John Carpenter's The Fog?
I like to, echo something Lauren was saying. They don't make them like that anymore, and I don't expect them to ever do it again. So if I seem like the old curmudgeon that doesn't want to go out to the new hip flicks, it's because of that. They don't make movies like that anymore. So it's kind of like, where's my motivation? I mean, back in the old days, when this movie, let's go see that one. Let's go see this one. But now, not so much. I mean, I don't know. It seems like writing has gone way downhill, and anything's acceptable. They don't even have to have a script. They just shoot a movie and make it up as they go along. And if it doesn't make sense, it's whatever.
My suggestion, at least a tradition when I was a kid, put a tent up for your kids in the living room, have a screening of this, get some s'mores, make everybody put their phones away, and just enjoy a good old-fashioned night at the movies.
I could go for some s'mores right now.
Yep.
People saying this movie's bloody and violent. I really, compared to what's coming out now, this is PG. There's a little violence in it. There's not a lot of vulgarity. There's not a lot of naked people running around. There's not blood hitting the screen. There's no entrails. I mean, it's pretty quick.
You can make a case for a PG-13 rating on this.
Yeah. Oh, this could have easily gotten a PG-13. Yeah.
Maybe the first two murders of the ship hands might.
I think those were those reshoots where they added it in to make it more violent.
Yeah.
Well, it was to compare with the Italian imports that were coming. That's completely what was going on. This film was more inspired by the violence that had been on screen with Dawn of the Dead and Scanners and a few other things that really they thought they had to keep up with the Joneses about. But even that, I mean, I agree with you. I think that where violence is now in film, you could get a PG-13, maybe just losing a few frames off those first two murders, and you'd be fine.
Yeah.
But it's still a good movie. It doesn't feel
absolutely.
like that anything's missing. It's just like, if that was PG-13, I wouldn't care. It's still a good movie. I mean, ratings don't really matter to quality. It's just what you do with it.
Looks like Captain Halloween's already thrown out his idea, Police Academy watch along.
I'll see you on the other side of that.
Not a fan of Police Academy. There's some good laughs.
But Lauren, Steve Guttenberg, Bobcat Goldthwait.
The original Police Academy for me is funny. The sequels, not so much.
I just would like to say about The Fog.
It was missing Steve Guttenberg. That's what was missing.
That's the missing piece.
Wow. Movies to me are about taking me to a place that I can't go, making me feel things that I can't feel because I would never be in those situations. And The Fog is just drenched in mood and atmosphere. It tells a story that to me is wonderfully evocative without beating me over the head with anything in particular. Its strength is that it is lyrical and it's smart, and the characters all do pretty smart things given the circumstances. It's just kind of where I want horror to usually be at. You know, when a lot of times we're told, well, just shut off your brain and watch that horror film because that's what you're going to get. This is a perfect example of you don't need to do that. The filmmakers, I wish, would just embrace the idea that we're smart enough to tell the difference. And Carpenter at his height, he got that. He treated us with respect, but still delivered all the stuff we wanted, right? So to me, this is almost a perfect horror film. My favorite Carpenter. I really wish that more concern was put into how movies make us feel instead of just, hey, we're gonna give them that shot of Leatherface in the bus with the chainsaw. Oh, there'll be a girl that's cut in half coming out a window. Sure, but I don't feel anything. So what difference does it really make long term? I mean, maybe. Who am I to say? Maybe in 30 years we'll be still talking about that scene. I doubt it, but maybe we will be. But we'll definitely be talking about this film if you guys still are on the air with me in 25 years. You know, we could revisit this film again easy.
Oh, definitely.
So that's the difference, and that's what I think is special about The Fog, and it's the reason it is my favorite Carpenter.
There is
I might have to be live from the nursing home at that time, but I'll try to be around.
Well, me too, man, but that's okay. I'll definitely not be alive in 25 years.
There is the 40th anniversary of Halloween 3 coming up, another Atkins classic.
Oh.
So that's a possibility.
Yeah.
But that was fun. That was fun.
That was
Yeah, it was really fun revisiting The Fog. Let's do some shout outs here. Shout out to Laundry Arts. Thank you for the $5 super chats. And thank you to the Daily Ghost for the $5 super chats.
Ghost.
Very, very kind of you both. Appreciate that. Let's see who is still with us here in the chat tonight. We've got Ben Grimm. We've got Gibbs, Retro Cac. We've got Keith, Captain Halloween. There's the Daily Ghost, Cocoint, via VHS, who is making their first, hanging out with us for the first time tonight. Glad to have you with us. Jeff Woods. There's Dave, Slasher Home Video, Dying Breed, James Hester, Robert Long, Joe Reese. I know we had DJ Donnelly here with us for a little while. There's Big Crack Rock hanging out. Brian Trash. Joe Bob. What's going on, Joe Bob?
The Robert Long was here in the beginning.
It was.
Indeed. Let's see. Oh, we had the Orkster hanging out with us tonight. Also, I know we had Jess, Cable Channel 11, Anthony Oliver, Wander This World 97. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. This has been a lot of fun. David Vines, what's up? All right. Well, we'll catch you guys again in the near future. And until then, stay out of the fog. Peace.
Watch or be punished.
I was a mild-mannered